What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Maniac bringing you some ranked Warzone footage. So I get a bunch of people asking me, how are you guys so good at ranked Warzones? What is going through your head, and how do you achieve what you achieve? So in this video I hope to break down what's going through our head in 44 ranked Warzones, our strategies a little bit, and our keys to success. So we're here on the Bastion facing off against a strong Synergy team. And let me pause this for you guys so we can break down the team composition. So as you can see at the top right portion of the screen there, it shows off all the players on your team and the opposing team and their class, and whether they're DPS, heals, or tanking. We have Brohamsky as a gunslinger DPS, me as a commando DPS, Alderez as a guardian. As you can see, he's spec'd into DPS, but he's actually running a hybrid tank. We have Rolly, our scoundrel healer. On the opposing team, we have Max as a sentinel DPS. We have Shifu as an assassin, and since he's the only class on their side that can possibly tank, we're assuming that he's going to be tanking. Then finally we have Hoodrat as a DPS, Sage, and Makadiki as a scoundrel healer. So right off the bat we know a few things about the other team. First of all, Shifu is probably going to be tanking for them, and if he's not tanking, they're going to have a whole lot of DPS, but it's going to be really easy to take them down as well because they're not going to have any guards or tanks. Second thing we know is that the commando, me, is probably going to get focused because it's a lot harder to get on Brohamsky, who's a gunslinger, and cover, as opposed to leaving to the commando. So before the game even starts, you're going to see that our tank, Alderez, is going to put guard on me, so that when the other team immediately leaps to me and tries to DPS me down, I'm going to have that guard and that extra protection. With that said, I need to be conscious that guard is only 15 meters, whereas my range of DPS is 30 meters. So there could be situations where Alderez is leaping to targets, trying to push them away, trying to CC them, trying to do damage, and he's outside of that 50 meter range. So it's my job to stay within that 50 meter range if I want to stay alive. So here we go, and the battle has begun. As you can see here, our scoundrel goes into stealth and uses his group stealth in order to conceal our team as we make our approach. This is really helpful when you're starting off the engagement on your terms. You set the fight, you're able to engage on the target that you want as opposed to playing reactively. Take notice of my focus target of target screen there at the middle top. Setting Brohamsky as my focus target allows me to quickly acquire his target so that when there's a target low or a target that we want to burst down, it's super easy and quick for me to get on that target. At this point we notice that Max doesn't have guard, so we immediately get on him. His health plummets and we're able to get him super low. Unfortunately he gets an off and is able to CC the team. At this point I CC the healer. He sits through the whole duration of that CC and we're able to dish out a ton of DPS. A lot of newer players are really adamant about killing the healer and only focusing the healer. Unfortunately, it doesn't work when the other team has guard and they're coordinated like this other team. Sometimes the best and most efficient thing you can do is just CC the healer, completely taking him out of the game for the entire duration of your CC. I noticed that their tank is getting extremely low through guard damage, so I decide to focus him. This forces the tank to make a decision of either unguarding the target that he was currently guarding and getting out of the situation, or eat the guard damage and potentially die. As you just saw there, the tank booked it out of there, stealthed out, and his guarded target unfortunately died in the process. Now we have a 3 versus 4 situation. It's now just a matter of mopping up the rest of them. At this point I don't have a whole lot of targets in my field of view, so I just throw some heals out, casually DPS, and we win the game. As you can see from the scoreboard, the other team couldn't keep up with our DPS, and our constant CC on the healer allowed our healer to completely outpace their heals. One thing I did say at the beginning of the game was that I was probably going to get focused, and in that first game I didn't get touched at all. I barely took any damage, so going forward they're probably going to change up their strategy a little bit and try and focus me a little bit more. A free casting commando is probably the worst thing you ever want to have, especially when they're so squishy at the current state of the game. So here we go with round 2. So for the most part we have the same strategy going forward, guarding me and then stealthing in there, trying to get the first leap and first opportune target. Notice the enemy team's positioning on this side of the map. Before they were out in the open, but now they're staying in the little closed corner section right there. Makes it a lot harder for the commander to stay at range and do DPS when he has to get in the fray in order to do anything. That forces me to have to push up, and unfortunately it makes me really susceptible to getting CC'd. So here I'm at 50% health, and I really need to create some space between me and the enemy. Try to isolate the sentinel by pushing him back. Unfortunately their tank quickly sees this and sprints in to make sure their sentinel gets guarded. I see their healer out in the open over here, and my initial reaction is to CC him. because he has no resolve bar. He needs to get slowed down in his heals to help out the team a little bit. I already know that he broke his CC earlier, so I'm trying to CC him again. Unfortunately, I'm able to get it off because I have a lot of pressure on me. Unfortunately, at this point, there's a miscommunication between our healer and our tank ends up going down. At this point, it's a 3 versus 4 without our tank, and it's pretty much a lost cause. The only thing that we can possibly do is try to kill one of theirs since we still have all of our DPS, but we quickly fall without a tank. That was clearly a miscue between our tank and our healer, because our tank should not be dying that quickly. You can see that the Sage DPS put out a lot of DPS, and it's our mission in the next round to really limit that DPS output. Another thing that we want to do is really work on our positioning and don't let them control where we fight. We want them to fight out in the open so that both of our range classes can take advantage of all the space. If we fight in that closed off area, it just allows the Assassin and the Sentinel to do a ton of DPS against us. It also groups us up, makes us very susceptible to the multiple AoE CC that they have from the Sentinel's Awe and from the Scoundrel's Flashbang. So without further ado, here's game 3. So we have the same strategy here, trying to stealth so they don't know where we're coming from, trying to keep them off guard. We notice that the Sentinel's way out of position from his team, and we immediately focus him. His health quickly plummets from our amazing onslaught of DPS. Fortunately, he quickly gets a guard and then gets a few good heals. At this point, I'm waiting for my demo round and my high-impact ball to come off cooldown so that we can switch to another target. Our goal is to immediately switch to an unguarded target and do as much damage as we possibly can to him. Fortunately, I screw up here and break the healer's CC, but it doesn't really matter because we're able to burst down the Sage. We get him low enough in health and it forces him to use his bubble. While the Sage is in that bubble, it effectively cuts the enemy team's DPS in half. This gives our healer a lot of breathing room to heal us back up to full. And with the continued pressure and heat of the moment, we're able to switch to Max, who is unguarded, and burst him down very rapidly. Notice that by the time he gets guard, he's already at less than 10% health. At this point, it's just a matter of mopping up the rest of them, and it's a GG. So as always, if you like this type of content, let me know in the comments down below. And also, hit that subscribe button so you can always be aware of the newest videos that are coming out.